Hello, hi, and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a May wrap-up. I tried to do something a little different this month and read genres that I don't normally read, and it was met with some interesting results. I basically finished all the books on my TBR halfway through the month and was like, oh my gosh, like the possibilities are endless. I could read so many books. And yeah, no, that didn't happen. So the second half of the month, I basically found out that one of my favorite shows, In the Dark, was coming back at the beginning of June. So I was like, well, obviously I need to do a rewatch. So I did a rewatch of like 3 seasons and I only finished one extra book that wasn't on my TBR. But I mean, it was worth it because the In the Dark premiere was so good. So good. So the first book that I read this month was Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. This is a Greek mythology retelling, obviously, of the story Ariadne. I did not know the story of Ariadne. My knowledge of Greek mythology was basically, oh, that name sounds relatively familiar, and that was it. So I went into this completely blind, and it was about a girl called Ariadne, and she lived in ancient Greece, and her whole life she'd kind of heard stories like Medusa and had seen firsthand what had happened to her mother, and came to realize that basically women were punished for the sins of men. Like, it didn't matter what women did, they were the ones that were going to be punished. And so Ariadne and her younger sister Phaedra, they were like, yeah, no, we don't want that. We don't want that fate. We're going to change it. So they decided to take fate into their own hands and stick it to the man, literally. And yeah, so this is their story. I gave this book 1 star. I hated this book. I hated it. Like, I'm so sorry. I hated it. I thought that this was going to be about Ariadne and Phaedra, like, teaming up together, women supporting women, and like, you know, changing their fate and proving that like women could come out on top. No, this was not that story. This was not that story. I pretty much hated like every character, particularly the men. Every man, god, whatever, was trash in this book. Like, just the absolute worst. Like, I hated them. I hated all of them. And by the end of the book, I didn't even like Phaedra, the sister. I didn't even like her. I didn't hate Ariadne, but I also didn't like her. She was very passive, didn't really do much. It was awful. It was so bad. I thought it was gonna be like Phaedra like being suspicious and like, you know, exacting her revenge on Theseus for what he did to Ariadne. No. It was like 5 years of nothing and then some more years of nothing. I did not even like Phaedra. I did not even like her. And then at the end, both Ariadne and Phaedra suffered the exact same fate that they were trying to escape. I was like, what was the point? What was the point? There was an opportunity here. Like, this is a retelling, but like there was an opportunity to change it. It's fiction. You could change it. It could have been a story about women supporting women. It could have been a story about the women coming out on top. And instead, it was the exact same story that you could have looked up on like Wikipedia. Sorry, not sorry. It felt so long. It was only like 300 pages, but it literally felt like 700. And I got to the end and I was like, are you kidding me? Absolutely hated it. Greek tragedies, not for me. I'm here for the happy ending. And this one did not have that. 1 star, absolutely hated it. It's probably my least favorite book that I've read so far this year. So the next book that I read this month was Northern Spy by Flynn Barry. This one was about a woman, Tessa, who lived near Belfast. I'm gonna say the year was like 2004, 2005. It really depends like how many months passed in this book. They never actually say what year it is, but based on events, because it's based off of like real life events, you can gather. But anyway, so it's about this girl Tessa, and she lives near Belfast, and it's like a war zone there basically, and Tessa's just trying to like keep her head down and survive because she has a baby son, and she doesn't want to be involved. And then one day she's watching the news and she sees her younger sister Marion on the news for apparently suspected of robbery and of being a terrorist. And she confronts her, and it goes from there. So I gave this book 4 stars. I liked it. I thought they did a really good job of showing Tessa and how she kept getting deeper and deeper involved in this, but not really wanting to, and not really like trying to. Like it was just like a gradual thing, like one of those things where it's like you don't realize the water is boiling you until it's too late. And I felt like that was Tessa, and I think it did a really good job of that. I personally would have been way madder at Marion. Like I'm the type of Irish that does not forgive and forget. And Tessa held out for like a little bit, but then she like always forgiven. No, I could not believe what Marion did to Tessa and her son. No, absolutely not. Like I would have held that grudge. But I think it also did a really good job of kind of showing both sides, like how both sides wanted peace, but they were going about it in different ways. And both sides were just willing to use people like for their end game, and they didn't really care. Showed a lot of discrimination against Catholics in this area. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good. There was no romance, which, you know, is always kind of a disappointment for me. Maybe that would have made this a 5 star. I don't know. But yeah, I really liked it, and I thought it did a really good job. I don't know if I would say it's going to be like a favorite of mine, but I did really enjoy it, and I was glad to see a book about Northern Ireland at this time, a more modern take, because you don't see that very often. The next book that I read was We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang. This is a family drama. It's about a girl called Sunday who is the only daughter in the Brennan family. And 5 years ago, something happened and she basically exiled herself to the other side of the country. Hasn't spoken to her family or her ex-fiance, Cale, in 5 years. And then she gets in a serious car accident. And so she has to go back home, and a lot has changed and a lot of secrets are uncovered when she heads home. Now, I gave this book 4 stars, but here's the thing. I was like strangely invested in this, like to the point where I was like physically punching my book because I was so into it. Okay. So Sunday, loved her, found her super, super relatable, like really, really liked her. And her romance with Cale. First of all, they use my most hated trope, which is one of the reasons why this got 4 stars, because they used my literal most hated trope. Like I hate it. I've stopped reading books because of it. I've stopped watching TV shows, films because of, like, I literally can't stand it. And they use it in this one, and I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I got 4 stars. But anyway, I was very conflicted about Cale because on the one hand, like I really liked him. I felt like he was a really good guy. I loved the flashbacks of him and Sunday. And on the other hand, I was like, you've known her your entire life. You've been with her for like 9 years, and you just like let her go. Like you didn't notice anything was wrong. You didn't come after her. You didn't like check up on nothing. You were just like, okay, bye. Like what? And then he moved on so quickly. I don't think that's a spoiler because I'm pretty sure it's in the synopsis, but he gets married. Like literally like 6 months after she leaves. So I was very conflicted about him, but like ultimately I shipped them. And, you know, I think that it just was so good. I really loved everyone in the family. And I do say specifically in the family because I hated Vivian, Cale's wife, with a passion. She was vile. She was vile. She was vile. Now, to be fair, I would have disliked any character in that position because, you know, Cale and Sunday forever. But I hated this woman. I hated this woman. She is literally described as being somebody who like judges people by what they're wearing so she can feel superior. She completely trapped Cale into a relationship. Like legitimately it says that. The family didn't like her, not because she was Cale's wife instead of Sunday, but because she didn't like the youngest son because he had an intellectual disability. Like, that's a vile human being. I'm sorry. Like, she was terrible. But they did do a good job because she wasn't like evil. Like, she wasn't like an evil villain. Like, she was like a very realistic, like vile person that I hated. I literally hated. At one point, they gave her a chapter in this, and I don't know if it was meant to like make me like her, but it actually made me hate her more. And that was the chapter I was like physically punching my book because I absolutely hated her. But yeah, other than that, like I was so strangely addicted and obsessed with this book. The ending is open-ended. I wouldn't say that it was bad, but it definitely like, it was a pretty short book. It was only like 200 something pages. So when it ended kind of open-ended, I was like, they could have continued, like they could have gone on. I wanted to know what was going to happen. So 4 stars, very oddly enjoyed it. I don't know. Hated Vivian, loved the book. The next book that I read was Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. This one is about a woman, Inti, and her twin sister, Aggie. And they moved to Scotland so that they can reintroduce wolves into the wild. And they're met with some pushback because the locals are afraid for their livestock and their safety. And so then there's a murder, and Inti has made it her mission to basically prove the innocence of the wolves or else they'll be killed. I gave this 4 stars. This is dark. This is a very like dark, visceral book that I was not expecting. Loved the connection between Inti and the wolves, like absolutely loved it. But I'm gonna be straight up front, okay? Ugh, cover your ears, Lucy. Lou, can you sit? No. Ugh, she's too depressed about it. She doesn't want me to say cover your ears. A dog dies in this. I know. A dog dies in this. And you know, I'm not gonna give 5 stars to any book that's killing a dog. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It was unnecessary. It was completely unnecessary. I have stopped watching films because of this. Had it not been like towards the end, like I might have quit this. It was just unnecessary. Like it didn't have to happen and I was not for it. Also, I guessed who the killer was from the beginning because I knew it was a murder mystery going into it. So I literally guessed who the killer was before the murder even happened in the book. Does that make it super predictable? I mean, it was a good time and I enjoyed it, but like, I knew who the killer was. And I literally was like, why does nobody else, like, why has no one caught up? Why is no one else on my level? I don't understand. But yeah, I thought it was a really good read, very interesting, but be warned, it's very dark. A dog dies and yeah, I mean, it was good, but a dog dies. I mean, no, thank you. Lou's traumatized. I mean, she's sitting here. She won't even sit up. She's like, no, absolutely not. And the last book that I read was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So this one came out last year and everybody was reading it and I was like, I don't know, I'm not really a romance reader, I'm gonna pass. But then like everybody loved it, and that's generally when I start to read a romance, is when like it has really good reviews from everyone. So I picked this up. It's my first Emily Henry book, so you know, I guess by default my favorite. So this is about two friends, Poppy and Alex, who have been friends like forever. Like 12 years or something like that. They've been friends forever. They're best friends. And every summer they take a trip together and it's like the best part of their year. Love it. Love to see it. Okay. But then a couple of years ago, something happened and they drifted apart. And now, you know, Poppy's very upset about it and she keeps trying to get back to that place in the relationship that they once were. So she suggests like one last summer trip to try to rekindle their friendship. But obviously this is romance, so it's friends to lovers. I gave this book 4 stars. Alex, my boy Alex, what? Oh my gosh. I loved him. I loved him from like page 1 when they said that he was reading at a bar. I was like, okay, you perfect boy. Yes. Yes. There is something that he does, I'd say about halfway through, or says that he does like halfway through. And I was like, a real man could never. A real man would never. Like, he is a perfect fictional unicorn and like nobody can convince me otherwise. Like, I was in love with Alex. I loved him. Loved him. So thoughtful. I love him. I love him. If you've read this book and you know what he says that he's done so that women will never be put in a situation that they're uncomfortable with, I could not. I was like, Alex, oh my God, you're perfect. I also liked Poppy. I thought she was, I liked her personality. I didn't think she was super relatable as like a travel influencer. But you know, I liked her. I shipped them. I would say I definitely shipped them more like the second half of the book than I did like the first. But what I liked the most about this book, my favorite part, was how perfectly it depicted a friendship that has drifted apart. You know, when you have that best friend that like you just feel seen, you feel like you finally have your person, like you can do anything with them. You literally like talk all the time. Like you literally know what they have for dinner every single night. And then for one reason or another, or no reason at all, you just kind of start drifting apart. And it's like you're constantly trying to get back to that feeling and back to that place where you had that best friend. But it's like the more you try, like the more awkward it becomes. And I just thought they did such a good job where it's like, you know, you literally go from knowing all the details about them to not even knowing like big details about them, like a pet dying or moving or stuff like that. And it's like, you'd think you'd have so much more to talk about because you're not talking every single day like you used to, but you act like it's just so awkward. And I felt like this book depicted that kind of relationship so well that at times I had to like close it and be like, okay, well, that's hitting a little too close to home. So I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. But because I appreciated, I guess, the friendship more than the actual like romantic relationship between them, I ended up giving it 4 stars. Yeah. So anyway, those are all the books that I read in May. I'm like, May? Yeah, it is May. It's June. That was May. And thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to subscribe, please do. And we will see you next time, I guess. Lou, you want to sit up and say goodbye? Say goodbye. Say goodbye. She's been here helping me the whole time. Say bye-bye, Lou. Oh, kisses. Say bye.